Soul Garden.
Your Sirius Step of the Day is sponsored by soulmart.me. Watch, shop, learn.
Namaste, and welcome to Step 22. Step 22 is the day that things start to get interesting. And the interesting thing about Step 22 is it's not really fixed to today in time. You could have experienced Step 22 as early as yesterday, and it may procrastinate as late as tomorrow. It's a timeless step. It's timeless because it's based on going quantum, 4. 2 plus 2 makes 4. And this is truly quantum in the sense of whatever quantum would be, because we're in the master shui of the 20s. And so once it's passionate and we surrender to the passion, as you know from watching these, emotion is the richest state of awareness. So the most possible change can happen when you're rolling in your 20s. And at particular 22, this is when passion meets passion. Now the first 2 in the 22 is you. How well you feel. Now the 20 is I feel and I trust my feelings. 20 on is I feel and I trust. So you feel and you trust 2, someone else's feelings. And see, when we allow our feelings to mix with others' feelings, this is when things get really dynamic, can move very quickly, passionate exchange of information. I have to say that a lot of times when people go too far, it's on Step 22 day. But the too far was probably a reaction to something they were holding back. So, for instance, this is the day where everyone gets passionate, 20s, but now the whole world is also passionate, 22. And so if you've been holding back since Step 18, like I talked about in the Step 18 day, not acting on any of that passion, not acting on any of the desire of this particular month, and procrastinating, allowing that passion to rise inside of you. This is where knowing how you feel and trusting and protecting how you feel is very important, because when you go out interacting like a ping pong ball with the universe, and you react based on how you feel and react based on how they feel, this is where it gets messy, right? But it ends up as an I belong day, Step 4. So what ends up happening is through interacting in the game emotionally, you are brought to, through passion, where you're meant to be. One of the little steps I have to say, or important things to keep note of on a Step 22 day, is that you have to be mindful of your own feelings. You have to be mindful of your own feelings. So the mind in you, the part of you that wants to think about it, really the only way to control the direction of where today goes is by being mindful of how you feel right now. Because if you want to alter the way you interact with others, you must focus on altering your own feelings to change the course, not their feelings. So if you feel like doing something and you go out into a space and they don't feel like doing something, what you don't want to do is change your feelings for them. You want to be mindful of your feelings. This is what I feel like I want to do, and steer out of that if the feelings don't coincide. A lot of people end up breaking down instead of going forward and breaking through at 22, because they have not been mindful of their own feelings. And so once they go passionately into the game of Sirius joy and incarnation, they end up surrendering or yielding to other people's feelings in the game on accident. Wasn't your intention. You were just going along with the feelings. So we want to go along with the feelings, but we want to be very mindful of how we feel, and we certainly don't want to lose touch with our heart either. Remember, yesterday was step 21. Now, the way we know a good feeling from a bad feeling is our heart. So we have to also be mindful of our heart, how we feel, and what our heart is saying. Because that step 21 thermometer of yesterday, that this is right or this isn't right, will be the same thermometer of today, that once you go off playing ping pong with the world and following your passion in step 22, the only way you don't lose your way is by listening to your heart. It might feel okay, but your heart won't be in it. That's a different shade. That feeling is step 2. The heart is step 1. So today, as you're out ping-ponging, be mindful of your feelings, be mindful of your heart, and go out and play. Now, one of the interesting things about step 22 is, like I said, it's a quantum day, so it can be a very surprising day. You might want to prepare for the unexpected, or to expect the unexpected. This is always where Creator throws in her little dazzle of surprise. So there's always an interesting day where half the crowd goes, they hadn't expected something. And that's really the quantum of it, where once everyone's emotions get involved, it turns out to be something no one expects, per se. So a lot of world events happen on a step 22 day. A lot of pronounced things happen. A lot of shocking things happen. I would imagine if aliens ever landed on Earth, it would be on a step 22 day. But as I was stating just a little earlier, because we're dealing with passion, interacting with passion, a step 22 day can technically fire off about 3 days before, up to 3 days after. So let's give the before scenario. Remember on the step 18 day, I had said sometimes people decide not to act, and that's their action. So what happens is because you have no interaction with the universe up at that stage, you have no feedback in step 19 and step 20 when you're holding faith. You're holding faith based on no feedback, and that's just fine. However, it's at a certain point that your emotions swell, and any one person or one emotional random person could trigger that too in a 22 kind of fashion. So on step 22 day, the universe makes everybody emotionally passionate. But if you were holding space in step 19 and then step 20 it was starting to build pressure, and step 21 you're loving and building pressure, it's possible that in the step 21 you cross another exotic step 21 person who's still in the 21, and on that day you two go ahead and do your 22. All right, you exchange passionately. So you can fire early in a step 22. In other words, you can have the breakthrough and breakdown. And a lot of my more evolved or more aware clients will tell me that quite often the transits happen early to them than the ones I predict. And I say to them, I believe that's because you're so aware of the possibilities that as soon as it all lines up, you go. So remember, space and time is not fixed. When it's a step 22 day, this is the day where universe is giving a deadline. Like, this is the day we all have to do this. But because you are a free will creator of your own universe, you can go to any step at any time. You can focus your awareness on the steps. On a step 22 day, you can focus on step 27 if you wanted to. You can focus on step 29 if you wanted to. The universe just defaults to step 22 today. Therefore, you can have your conclusion. And basically, up to a couple days before. Now, the other aspect is if you have it happen late, it's because you still yet more endured this moment of passion and you held out even further, which means that for those who manage to not break down or break through at this stage, one, it means you are incredibly resilient, your ability to hold your emotions in. Two, it means that you will likely pop unexpectedly moving forward now. And so you should really relax, okay? The last thing I want to say about step 22 that I think is very important is the whole aspect of what 4 ends up doing. ultimately it ends up putting people in their place. That's what Uranus is, that's what Aquarius is. It can sometimes feel like a rude bitch slap, but you're going to be put in your place. Now, if you were prior to this day not where you belong, that means that you will end up where you belong. But sometimes to be put in the right place, you have to be taken out of the wrong place. So a 4 is a quantum weird thing too. It kind of depends how much has to be done. If you have a lot of breakdown to do, in other words, a lot of people to say goodbye to, well, then that will all happen in this next 24-hour period per se. And if you have a lot of people to say hello to, and you've waited this long, well, then you will say hello to all those people today. So it can be very chaotic and a bit tumultuous, very much like a passionate, crazy day. And like I said, at the end of the day, everyone is surprised of who is taking who home or whatever, right? The last thing is just remember this. You're going to go out there and dance today passionately with the world. You're going to have some sort of a breakthrough, and you're going to end up feeling yourself to a place that your mind could have never taken you. Just make sure your heart is in it. If it is, so is Creator. Have a great breakthrough day. I will see you on step 23. Until then, namaste.
Who cares?
So